Does your car stereo get you where you want to go? Why not upgrade it? Get easy navigation with Apple CarPlay on the new Pioneer Next. Don't break up with your car, upgrade it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Aftermarket Insider podcast. This is season 2, episode 3. And this is your podcast for Tuesday, April the 6th, 2021. Hey, everybody. I'm your host, Joe Cibergandio, and thanks for watching and listening. Hope everybody had a really nice recent Easter Sunday holiday. We've got a great program in store and a great guest in store for you on today's podcast. He's Wade Kawasaki. Wade Kawasaki is an industry legend, SEMA Hall of Famer. Started out pumping gas in his dad's Shell station where he learned the ropes. Took that all the way up into his SEMA Hall of Fame election. It's a big honcho with SEMA, operating in a variety of capacities. Still active in the industry. He owns companies. He sells products. He sells them in the States, out of the States. He's got another layer to this expanding automotive aftermarket career, which is Wade Kawasaki's Car Guy Adventures, where Wade is going to be taking advantage of his travels, where he attends just about every legitimate automotive show, inside or outside, in the US and out, checking out all the cars, having a good time, and promoting his companies, Coker Tire, particularly. And Wade's bringing a social media element to a lot of the events happening out there. He recently was at the Mecum auctions and the Barrett-Jackson auctions out in Scottsdale. And I think Mecum was also in Arizona. He's probably jumping on a plane the next day or two, heading off to another event. And we're going to find out how Wade Kawasaki, in addition to everything else he's doing in this industry, has time to now do a social media show. Really looking forward to finding out what's happening there. But before we bring Wade on, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Pioneer Car Electronics. You know, Pioneer is the global leader in car electronics and a proud supporter of automotive enthusiasts everywhere. They also sponsor Joe's Mini Bike Reunion, just like Coker Tires. So thanks for that. No matter what you drive, Pioneer has the gear to upgrade your ride, to sound better, and to help you connect with the latest technology like Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Amazon Alexa. Remember, don't break up with your car, upgrade it. Learn more from our friends at pioneercarelectronics.com. Check those guys out. I really appreciate their support. If there's anybody out there that thinks that they have a friend that would enjoy hearing this podcast, let them know. Once again, it's the Aftermarket Insider. You can find us on YouTube. We also have a Facebook presence as well. As we expand our portfolio, we'll be moving on to Instagram and others. You know, it's been a really good time here in the automotive industry. As I said, there was a little bit of a pause last week because many of our associates and friends were in Moab, Utah for the Easter Jeep Safari. And that's a really good sign because folks are out. From what I understand, the attendance at the event was really good and all the expectations were met. I talked to an agency that handles Ford, and they rolled out to Moab to introduce the new Ford Bronco. And they had a great rollout there. So attendance is up. Enthusiasm is definitely up. I recently spent some time at the local car show here in La Crescenta, California. And it's like standing room only. Whenever I see a social media post about a donut derelicts or any kind of automotive event, record crowds. People are having a good time. People are complying. Depending on where you live and what your color code is, you can either go with the mask or without the mask, but it seems as if everybody is still in compliance. A lot of folks have gotten their first shot for the vaccination and waiting on their second. So I feel like an upbeat change. We are working on, and when I say we, Bonnier Events, an agency that I represent, a company that I represent with my agency, we have our events in full go mode, starting off with the upcoming Sandsport Super Swap, which is a one-day event at Orange County. And then we lead right into our Street Machine Nationals, our four-wheel and off-road jamborees, the upcoming Off-Road Expo, Sand Sport Super Show. Good Guys is in full effect. Drag racing's happening. So, dare I say, it's time. It's time to get back to where we all want to be. And with that said, there's no one that enjoys what we do in this automotive industry more than our guest today. He's Wade Kawasaki. Wade, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Joe. And, congratulations on season 2 of the Aftermarket Insider. Watch season 1. Can't wait to dive into season 2. So well done and congratulations on your success.
Thanks, Wade. We put this together last year during a time where, there wasn't a lot happening. There wasn't a lot of conversation. That people were still uncertain about what this COVID was all about. And, if there was a show and if they were going to get furloughed. So I said, what? I found myself getting into that. It's like, I got to stop that. We've got to get positive. We've got to make some things happening. And I talked with Emmanuel, him and I kind of consult and we do a few things together. And it's like, let's get something going with the aftermarket. And that really is the reason why we started the Aftermarket Insider. We're hopeful that as this grows, we'll have a few more folks listening, and having guests like you on is really going to help us out. How was your Easter holiday back in Chattanooga?
Yeah, we had a great Easter holiday. My daughter and her fiance visited from Los Angeles. So that's always great when you have the kids out, of course. And, the weather was beautiful out here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I actually got on the lake and did some fishing. So we really had a wonderful Easter holiday, and looking forward to getting out to LA here in a few days and get to see my son Timothy's a little boy, my new grandson.
Congratulations, Wade. I didn't realize that Timothy was a recent dad, and that's always going to be fun. Now, you still have a place here in SoCal. You've got the Coker West Coast building, which is awesome. Anybody that needs some really cool tires in a hurry, just roll out.
Yep.
But you did something that you left California when it wasn't vogue to leave California.
Right.
I know you didn't leave because you were frustrated with politics or homelessness or all the other things that go on here, earthquakes. You left for a business reason. But
right.
Boy, if there was anybody that was a diehard SoCal car enthusiast, it was Wade Kawasaki. How has the experience been since you left SoCal? Are you missing it? What's up?
Yeah, so I miss the kids. I think that's the main thing. I miss my kids. And now my grandchild, and I miss the weather, right? You can't beat Southern California weather. I also miss the ocean because it's tough not being around the ocean, but we're able to buy a place on the lake, and we have a dock and boats, and it's just a fun time. I'm an outdoors guy. I enjoy hunting and fishing, and there's so much better hunting and fishing here in Tennessee than there was in SoCal. Whitetail deer hunting in Southern California was exercise, not hunting, and here it's actually hunting. In fact, I just had some great venison burgers the other night. So it's an effective way to put some game in the refrigerator and have a great time. So I really love Chattanooga. The pace of life is slower. You're not as they're not in the same kind of rush as you seem to always be in LA. So it's been a good transition for us.
I spent some time there. In fact, the time that I did spend in Chattanooga, I had the chance to spend an evening with you and Rose and some others while we were there. I think we were doing a little bit of work for Revin at the time.
Right.
We were with Doug Evans and David Leach, myself and Mike Robledo. And we went on the water and we got to experience some of the local cuisine. And there was that niceness. There was that laid back attitude. And I don't know, you couple that with the tour of Coker Tire and seeing what's going on there. It was a hell of a weekend for us. In fact, it was, I don't like to travel as much as I did before. And I know I don't travel anywhere near as often as you do, but, I got to a place, Wade, where I'd seen just about every city 2 or 3 times. Going to Chattanooga was a different experience. It was almost like I was on a little bit of a vacation.
Yeah, it is. It's a great, Outdoors Magazine rates it #1 outdoor city location in the United States year after year. I mean, it's a really great place if you love outdoor activities. And also, since Volkswagen opened up their SUV plant out here and are continuing to add lines to that, it's really gave it a much more cosmopolitan feel. where there's gastropubs and cool bars and great seafood places. So it's really become a great balance of still being a small town, but having that kind of the big city accoutrements that go with being able to hang out in a city like LA. So it's been a real great experience to be here.
And then within the state, we've got some stout automotive aftermarket representation with the recent acquisition merger between Edelbrock and Comp Cams, and a lot of the activities coming out there now. Got some major players out there in the Southeast, particularly in that state of Tennessee. What else is happening there? Are there any other folks moving out there that you're aware of, Wade?
Yeah, you know what? There are a few other folks that I'm not at liberty to say that are going to come out here very shortly. In fact, one, I helped locate a building just outside of Chattanooga. So, I think the ability to reduce your cost of living for your employees by 27% by moving from California to Chattanooga, it's a big thing. And business savings is crazy as well. So get to a place where it doesn't have any state income tax. You get to a place where everything else, housing, everything else. I mean, as you know, I couldn't afford to buy a place on the water in Los Angeles. I mean, I'd have to buy it in Huntington Harbor or Newport Harbor, right? But you can buy a place out on the water here. So it's a great place to be. It's a great place to do business. And of course, like I said, with the added companies moving into the area, and whether it's Nashville, Chattanooga, or Memphis, with all the larger companies moving into these areas, really creating a great vibe and a great employee base as well.
Well, look, for those folks who, for whatever reasons, had not had a chance to check out Tennessee, believe me, from Wade's perspective, he's there now. He's been there, what, 5 years, Wade?
7 years.
7 years. Wow, time's gone by quickly. So, and Wade's a straight shooter. He's there because it's working for him. Suffice it to say, he's not going to do anything that's going to take a backward step. And speaking of that, when I was at Coker, I was just amazed. Once you walk into that front door, you're set for quite the experience. And not only with the product line, but the vehicles that were presented and on display. You have to pinch yourself realizing that you're at the controls of, such an iconic company with now, what do you have, 12 different representations under that umbrella?
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, I am truly blessed, Joe. And this, we've been friends for a long time. Just amazing blessing to be able to do what I do. And it's been a great time of learning, of experiencing, of teaming up and collaborating with some really smart people and being able to move these companies forward. We're in acquisition mode, as you know, and we just signed an LOI a week ago. And so we're in due diligence now. We hope to sign one next week. So we'll continue to grow that base in a way that makes sense, not only for us, but for the companies that we're acquiring. We're really looking for those opportunities where we can make 1 + 1 = 3, right? So it's been a great experience being able to fly all over the country, meet with a bunch of CEOs from all these companies and chat about how we can together be more than either one of us could have been apart.
Wade, who are some of the major players that help you with not only Coker, but all the companies you have going there? Obviously, Marla Moore is someone who has been not only in the industry forever, but a long-standing not only employee of yours, but supporter of yours. Who else is helping out besides Marla there?
Yeah, Marla's wonderful. One of the first things I did when I became a partner in Coker Tire 7 years ago is brought Marla aboard. I mean, Marla is phenomenal. SEMA Hall of Fame, SEMA Person of the Year, are really giving individuals so well connected within our industry. So that was the kind of the first step in being able to do that. But we also have Steve Zitkus. And so we brought Steve on after the acquisition. Post-acquisition, Steve was the former CFO of Edelbrock. And we brought him here now at Coker Tire. Adds so much to what we do. And, very experienced at reporting to private equity. And we got great private equity parties who really, partners who really do a great job of merging in when we need them, but also being able to say, hey, we bought Coker Tire because you guys are great operators and we need you to operate that company. So it's a great balance, and Steve does a great job of maintaining those balances. And then we have, David Levi, our VP of operations. David I got from Amazon. He ran an Amazon distribution center. So he again, just state-of-the-art Kaizen, cost control and containment. But not only that, just making us as efficient as we possibly can be. But the neat thing about all of us here is we're all enthusiasts. And you kind of hit on that when you talked about walking in that front door and seeing who we are. And it's individuals, right? That's who we are, right? Those cars, those motorcycles, those are our cars and our motorcycle, right? So it's something that is ingrained in us. We're passionate about what we do. And there's a lot of tires that we shouldn't be building. And as financial partners, our private equity, why are you building that tire? I said, because if we didn't build it, nobody else has the ability to build it. Those cars wouldn't be able to get on the road. And it's so important for us that not only does our companies grow, but that the entire industry grows. And as you know from my time on the SEMA board of directors, to being chairman of the board of SEMA, that's always been my focus. I truly believe a rising tide will float all boats, and we want to make sure this industry is healthy because we're passionate car people, right? So we want to make sure there's something out there, not only for us and our employees, but also our kids.
Wade, what's the upside and maybe some of the challenges that you've dealt with, kind of being the guy that walks through the door that in the past Corky Coker would have walked through?
Right.
How's the reception been?
You know what? The reception's been phenomenal. And it was great that I was aboard running their West Coast and manufacturing operations. I used to spend a month here anyway. So I had the relationships with the folks. And fortunately, most of the staff at Coker, because they are car folks, they knew who I was. I'd been friends with Corky for 25 years before that. So been out here a number of times. So it was a really smooth transition, both internally and externally here. And it's been a great transition in the city of Chattanooga. I mean,
I can imagine. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I have another question. I was just getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, urban hospitality is a real thing. I mean, my wife and I were just commenting about this. We know our neighbors here after living here 5 years better than we knew our neighbors in Palos Verdes living there for 30 years, right? So it's that kind of hospitality. Everyone makes you feel at home. When people ask you how you are, they don't want you to say fine and walk away, right? They want you to actually engage in a conversation. So it's been really pleasant. And as I said, that transitioning for me in here as president, CEO, and owner has been a super smooth one.
How active and how often do you spend time with Corky still, Wade? Are you guys still speaking regularly? Are you still working together? Has he been able to transition yet?
Yeah, so fortunately for Corky, and one of the main reasons that he wanted to sell the company was because he wanted to spend time with his grandkids, and I admire him for that. It really takes a great dad to say, hey, you know what? When I was working all the time, I really didn't get to spend the time with the kids that I would really have loved to have spent. So now I'm not going to make that same mistake with my grandkids. So he bought a big motor home and he's out with his grandkids, cruising around, having a good time. So it's been great having him have the ability to do that. And he's no longer involved in the company at all. So I don't get the opportunity to chat with him as much anymore.
Wade, so the Honest Charlie business that's stayed with Corky's group, so to speak?
That's correct.
Was there a specific reason why? Did he just want to kind of still keep his hands into some of the action, or?
I'm sure he did. Honest Charlie was more of a personal thing for Corky. It's a brand that he grew up with. It was a Chattanooga brand. He loved it. And so whether it made money or didn't make money, or it was fun or it wasn't fun, it was something he really wanted to support. So he wanted to keep that after he sold the company.
Yeah, when I hear Honest Charlie, and I think about Mike, and I think about Britt White and Tim Gifford, guys that started there and then went on to automotive aftermarket careers. It was like a birthplace for many of the guys that came out strong from the Southeast, and hopefully it'll continue.
Oh, it absolutely was. I mean, Mike Goodman, who you just mentioned, Honest Mike, member of the SEMA board of directors. Back in the day, I just had dinner with he and his wife, Connie, a couple of weeks ago. I still am in constant contact with them, even though he's retired. I still call upon him. That guy is just a wealth of knowledge.
Choo-choo customs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, for some reason I was into like that '85 Monte Carlo with they had that replacement front bumper for the El Camino and a lot of cool parts. Yeah, there's just something about the Southeast, and I'm glad that you're having such a good time there. You'd mentioned being out here on the West Coast where you barely know your neighbor, let alone, understand what's going on. It's different than the Southeast, and you're a real person. So that's a good place for you. Wade, in addition to all you've got going on there, you've got this new social media promotion with the Car Guy Adventures. How are you finding time to now put this on the menu?
Yeah, that whole thing kind of happened by accident. We were at a Mecum show and wanted in fact, there was a guy there that had a car that said, "Hey, would you help me kind of promote the car before it goes on the auction block?" I said, "Sure." I grabbed my iPhone, flipped the camera, did a Facebook Live on his car, and it kind of went viral, got a few thousand views. And, Mecum saw it and said, "Hey, keep doing those and we'll share them." And, what we found out was, especially now, the consumers want to hear from influencers, not necessarily the company, right? So as a company, we put up a video and maybe it gets, 1,000 views, 2,000 views, how many ever it does. I've put up viral YouTube, iPhone videos where I'm just holding it up to me that has gotten over 30,000 views. So, people respond better to influencers. So it became a new vehicle for us to promote the company at these events. And I'm at the events anyway. It's as you know, Joe, it's a bummer having to work all week and then you work all weekend at these events. And then people see 30 seconds of video at the events. And I think, man, you've got the dream job. Well, I do have a dream job. That part is true, but I do work. I mean, there's a whole lot of work that goes on between those two, YouTube videos.
Yeah, I enjoyed the walk around you did with that cabriolet. I love the Corvette walk around, and you've got a realness where you're not just there to try to push products, whether they're the applicable products. Like most of those vehicles all have Coker rubber,
right.
And you're not just promoting that. In fact, you very rarely or subtly at the very end may mention it. I noticed you really are giving some really good cues about those vehicles that folks may not know. And there's a realness. I was listening to another podcast that you were on, and it was like a light bulb. The amazing experience that you had from being a pump jockey, where I remember listening to it, and and that was back at the time, Wade, where you brought up the fact that, hey, it was more than take a credit card. You open
Right.
the hood, you put air in the tires, you replenish the fluids. And you talked about opening the hoods and seeing all the different power plants and then putting the air in the tires and noting what the PSI was from the manufacturer and memorizing that. What a great experience really working at a gas station turned out to be in terms of all that knowledge that you were getting at the time. Amazing.
Yeah, it is. It was a great way to grow up. I mean, it was my dad's gas station in downtown LA. And, it's just like you said. I mean, I wasn't a very smart kid, but the one thing I did is I memorized all those horsepower ratings and cubic inches and what everything meant, looked at the wheel and tire packages, saw what looked right and what didn't look right. And so it was a great experiential upbringing working at that gas station.
And Wade, what I'm getting to, it comes to life when you're doing the videos because you've got that genuine interest, and I really enjoyed that. What are you enjoying the most about creating these videos? Is it the feedback? Is it the on-site excitement? Because it is electrifying when you're out there and you got the microphone and you're doing the walk around. I can sense that when you're doing it.
Yeah, to me, it's very similar to my service at SEMA. It's a great way for me to give back. I think I've been really, really blessed to be able to do what I do, to be able to go to the places that I get to go. And I forget sometimes that not everybody gets to do those things, right? And what reminded me of that was when COVID hit and nobody was able to get to do any of those things. So because of that, it was my way to share some excitement, some passion for our industry, to keep people kind of tuned in and then as I was going to Mecum events or 24-hour Le Mans or Goodwood, and people would come up to me and say, "Hey, thanks for doing that. I'm here because I got so excited about you being there that I wanted to come, I wanted to participate. And that's what it's all about, right, Joe? It's about getting people, passionate about collector cars, and that's a fun thing for both of us. Collector cars and bikes. And since Coker sells tires for mini bikes and go-karts and agriculture equipment, airplane, anything collector, no matter what kind of vehicle it is, all those events are just great events.
They certainly are, and you've been to enough of them. We mentioned earlier in the podcast, you just got back from Scottsdale with Barrett-Jackson and Glendale for Mecum, and heading off to Houston this week. What's the vibe been? What sense are you getting from the looks on the faces of the folks that you're visiting with, whether they're exhibitors or spectators of the event? It seems to be pretty upbeat.
Oh man, I mean, just look at the numbers, right? Over $100 million worth of sales at Barrett-Jackson. Kissimmee Mecum set world record for an auction in Florida. Rick Triorgi Mecum had a smaller auction at Rick Triorgi's Muscle Car Museum down in Florida. That thing, the prices were just crazy. Everyone was just trying to outbid each other. It's one of those things. Good cars are bringing really good money right now, and that's a good thing for our industry. It's a good thing for our hobby. I think what COVID did do to the auction business was it told them a couple things. Number one, that you don't have to be there in person to buy a car at auction, although we'd rather have you there, not to miss that excitement. But it also taught them, hey, I didn't go on vacation, I didn't go out to dinner as much, so I've got this collector car in the garage. Let me put some money to that and make it something where I can enjoy it. And people, that's something we can all do that's safe, is get in our car with our family in our little group and go out and cruise and have a good time. And I think that's really translated well within the public right now. So, the automotive aftermarket as a whole is up, and, we're really upbeat on what 2021 is going to bring.
Hey, Wade, I mentioned this earlier, the recent combination with Edelbrock and Comp Cams. What do you think when you hear about two dynamic forces like that kind of forming a one? Is that a good thing for the industry?
Yeah, so I think that's a really great question. I think it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. It just depends on who's doing it. But kind of, Joe, that's the kind of case with any business, right? Any
Sure.
business, any decision, it could be a good decision, it could be a bad decision. It just depends on who's executing those decisions. I think Comp and Edelbrock was a great two companies coming together. Taking advantage of their economies of scale, moving Edelbrock out of a very, very high expense ratio in Torrance, California, out to Memphis, Tennessee. I think it was a smart thing for them to do. So yeah, I think they're going to experience a lot of great savings. They're also going to experience to be able to boost sales, as one company has possibly a little bit different customers than the other company. So I thought that was a really good blending of two companies. And then, for what we do at Legendary Companies is based back to what I told you. We're really looking for those opportunities where it makes sense, where we can make that 1 + 1 = 3, where we can make sure that not only do we, we're not out there saying, hey, we know everything and, we're great and you should sell us your company and we'll turn it around. No, what we're saying is, hey, you've got some great attributes to your company and great capabilities. We want to merge those with our capabilities and then become something larger that we couldn't achieve on our own. And that's the one acquisition that we're in due diligence on now. That's a company that's brings great collaboration to us. It's going to really help Coker Tire get to that next step, not just us helping them to get that next step. So I think when acquisitions are done in that manner and they're positive for both, and people care about the industry, they don't just care about money, right? They care about the industry. They care about the people in the industry. I think it's really good for the automotive aftermarket.
And many of those companies that could be ripe for a sale are mature companies. They're companies that endured all the initial hardships, whether they were just trying to find a name for themselves or a distribution outlet or keep enough money in the bank to go through some of those rocky times. And when they ultimately get to that point where they've made it, it's kind of tough to talk to that person who got that little rock and shined it and buffed it out to be a jewel. Is it a challenge to get some of these potential companies and owners to finally sell? I mean, what kind of challenges do you have with some of those companies?
That is a challenge, Joe. That you hit the nail right on the head. It's really tough for a lot of owners to let go of their babies, and because of that, we have successful negotiations and we have unsuccessful negotiations. But the one thing I do love is that whether it's successful or unsuccessful, we all part the table friends, because we're all car guys. We're all here for the same thing. And whether we can get that acquisition done or we don't get the acquisition done, either way, it's definitely okay with us, because it's all about collaboration. It's all about coming together for the entire aftermarket. I mean, remember, our competitors aren't each other, right? Our competitors are LCD screen TVs, our barbecues, our home remodels, our vacation. That's who we're battling against with the discretionary dollar, because remember, nobody needs the stuff we sell, right? They all want the stuff we sell, but they don't need the stuff we sell. So I'm a real firm believer in that kind of collaboration. So I've always collaborated a lot with my competitors, with other companies and in like fields. And so I think it's a little easier for me to be able to chat with these folks about a potential acquisition.
It's funny, during the few times that I've had some of my either cars or bikes for sale, there's a sense where you want it to go to somebody that you like, and I do think, Wade, that you present that image, and that if someone were thinking about maybe letting go, that they wouldn't mind handing over the leash to you. So, and that just speaks volumes of what you've done to date in the industry and your reputation. Speaking of all that, you've lent so much time and energy to the SEMA organization. I know that the May 3rd date starts exhibitor registration. I know that there are some really nice things happening with the venue, the new buildings, the new look. What kind of positive insight can you give folks that are asking about the SEMA show for 2021, especially now after the 2020 event was different? I know that we had a virtual alternative. It wasn't so much a virtual show that right. went off, but it wasn't the same. And I'm sure folks are anxious to get back. What can you tell us about this upcoming SEMA show, Wade?
So a few weeks ago, we had a 3-day SEMA board of directors meeting in Las Vegas. We got to tour that new West Hall, and I'll tell you, it is phenomenal. It is probably the best convention, best laid out, best thought through convention center I've ever been in, and I've been in a whole bunch of convention centers. That's so they really did a great job. They work with us, they work with CES, they work with a lot of their other big, and said, hey, what do we need to do to make this thing perfect for you guys? And they didn't follow all of our advice, but they followed a great deal of it. And so it's going to be an exciting show, Joe. I think you've seen the SEMA advertisement. It says reconnect has been the word. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be able to give us all the opportunity to reconnect with each other, to get that energy and that passion, that drive that comes from when you're at the SEMA show. It's the most tiring time ever for me, but at the same time, I love it. I mean, it's energizing. When 2 years ago, when I was chairman of the board for those 2 years at the SEMA show, then you're really busy, right? I mean, you're really from 6 a.m. till midnight. You're busy, and I go to sleep at midnight. I mean, I am so energized. I wake up in the morning. I can't wait to start the day. So, just to feel that energy again, to be able to reconnect not only with colleagues but with potentially new customers, with new manufacturers. I mean, it's been something that I've been looking forward to. It was a really tough decision to cancel the show last year for our board, but it was something that we had to do, not only for the safety of our attendees and our exhibitors, but also because of local laws. And so now it's full speed ahead. We're all planning for it. If you haven't signed up yet, you better get online and get that exhibit space and sign up as a buyer, because as everything is today, the show's full speed ahead.
And Wade, what would you say to some folks that still may be on the fence about attending, either as an exhibitor or a spectator?
Yeah, so I think it's a different perspective. If you're there as a buyer, right? I think it can't be missed opportunity for you to look at new products, for you to talk to people, for you to engage folks. I just don't think there's anything that replaces the SEMA show. There's a lot of shows out there, but there are no other SEMA shows, right? I think the only thing closer is PRI, and it's a much different audience. Of course, it's a SEMA show being owned by SEMA, but I'll tell you that it really is not a place that you can be missed. And then from exhibitor standpoint, I know there's a lot of concerns. There's some concerns with larger corporations about sending people. I just really feel that with the amount of people vaccinated, in fact, let me show you. I can show you this.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So I just got my second COVID-19 vaccination today. So hopefully I will be fine. And, but, you know, we're taking every safety precaution that we can to make sure that, that, you know, everybody stays safe, that, you know, that we're not going to be a big spreading disease. But with the vaccination, with the herd immunity for people that already have it, I think it's going to be a really, not totally safe, but a reasonably safe place to be. And then, of course, you can't beat the business that's going to go on at the SEMA show. So I think on the positive side, hey, get out there, reconnect with your customers, reconnect with new customers. And on the negative spot, I don't think you don't want to be there, right? I think you're going to really miss something if you're not there, right? I don't want that to be your primary motivation for going, but hey, it's a business reality. We're going to be there full force, just like we were in 2019, and we're looking forward to a great show.
Without a doubt. And I personally, I just love the personal contact. You know, it's one thing to be Zooming. It's one thing to be on the phone. Right. It's one thing to send a text. But, you know, when you see, in some cases, a face that you would usually see weekly, right, or at least every other weekend, or at the car show, or at the office, I've known people that I haven't seen going on almost a year and a half now. And when you see them, it's a different vibe, and it's a feeling that everybody wants to get again. Don't you think? Absolutely.
100%. And I think everyone kind of feeds off of that energy. I remember one time I heard a guy say, oh yeah, I came over from Apex because I was ready to fall asleep over there. And this brings me energy. But that's what we do too, right, Joe? I mean, we go to the SEMA show. You get back from the SEMA show, you have 1,000 ideas. You have 100 new products you want to introduce. And, you know, it just gives you that great boost to get into that mode over the wintertime.
Yeah, that little adrenaline shot. Yep. I miss it, Wade. And I'm looking forward to catching up with all of our friends and clients and future clients at the SEMA show this year. What's the latest on the exhibitor summit? That used to be a big part of the SEMA show, where SEMA would give the opportunity for folks that may be new as an exhibitor to come out and learn the ropes. Is that still on tap for this year?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a little bit limited. And we're also, we're also going to have in Las Vegas our council summit. So that's a go-to, as well as our board meeting.
Great. For those of you who had not been aware of the fact that SEMA offered an exhibitor summit, you may want to look into that. Talk to your rep, check it out on site. It's the semashow.org or semashow.com sites. We're here with Wade Kawasaki. Wade is a man for all in the automotive industry, and he has a new platform on Facebook and Instagram, Wade Kawasaki, the Car Guy Adventures. You know, Wade, this new program that you have, you really could have woke up a bear here. What do you do when this thing starts to really take off? I mean, I know you already have people, because we worked with Kyle to set up this appointment, but you got your hands in a lot of activities there. What's the plan for this thing as it takes off?
Well, I don't know if it's going to take off, Joe. Our plan is just for me to share my enthusiasm and excitement about our collector car industry, is to hopefully teach people, be educational, right? I mean, all of this studying that I've done all my life about and bringing up data on collector cars is great to be able to share and to get some insight to folks on a wide variety of vehicles. And so we're just going to keep on doing that. And to the extent that people continue to tune in and want to watch that, that's great. But I don't really see it like going to the next level or taking a little bit differently, but we're having fun doing what we're doing.
Hey, Wade, the Hot Rod Power Tour is another iconic event that was shelved last year because of COVID. And their recent posts discovery was that the Hot Rod Drag Week and Hot Rod Power Tour were going to be put back in motion. Have you heard anything about that on your end?
I have. So that is what we hear is the latest, that both the Drag Week and the Power Tour are back on for this year. So looking forward to it. Yes.
So I've been hearing a few things about that. When it first was canceled, there was a little bit of an uproar, and you know, folks just wanted their Power Tour, and there were some folks talking about doing their own Power Tour, and obviously that's not going to be the same. but there were a lot of rumors about the Power Tour. There were a lot of rumors about Hot Rod. Recently, Holley went public. And as I was digging deeper into that, I had heard some rumors that not only was Holley going public, but they were also looking at purchasing the Hot Rod brand from Discovery. Now, I know that Holley has their hands in the event market already with their very, very popular LS Fests. And They have the Mo Party, which is focused at the Mopar vehicles out there. But I started to scratch my head. And I started to wonder out loud about, wow, that could be interesting. Had you heard anything about that?
So I think, Joe, I've heard the same rumors as you've heard. And I would like to congratulate Tom and Brian, Tom Tomlinson, Brian Applegate. Did a great job on that SPAC. That's not an easy roadshow to do. I did the roadshows here when we sold Coker Tire to the Irving Place Capital, our private equity partner. Now my private equity partners, I invested back in and I'm partners with them as well as being CEO. But they did a great job, and I'm curious and to see how that goes. But that's a whole new world, getting involved in a SPAC and becoming a public company. And so good for them. I thought I was jealous, to tell you the truth. I think they did a great job at that. And now we'll see. They're going to continue to move that brand forward and continue to drive more people into our industry. So I think it's all a good thing.
I do too. I kind of felt and was just confused about what Discovery was going to be doing with some of those iconic brands that we not only represented, but were endeared to. And I was afraid that they were going to be forgotten about. And I thought maybe in Discovery's zeal to be everything on television, once we see the magazines go by the wayside, then you start to see some of the events being reduced. I was just feeling as if some of the focus was moving away from the core titles, and it wasn't a good feeling. So to hear that it's back, although I'm not, I still receive Hot Rod. I'm not sure I may still be getting Motor Trend, but I remember getting 20 books now and I only get the one. Do you miss magazines, Wade? Do you miss those? Because I'm sure you loved getting them and seeing them every month.
So I do miss some of those magazines, but I got to tell you, there's so many more specialty magazines now, little niche magazines, some really super high quality magazines out there. I wrote an article for Linkage magazine. I'm sure you're familiar with them. They do a great job with their books, and honestly, I think I fly a lot, as you know, and Marla hates it when I fly because I fly with like 30 magazines and I take pictures of ads that I like. I take pictures of our ads that I don't like, and she gets a flood of emails every time I'm on an airplane. But there's still magazines out there. That's a good thing. I loved how Doug Evans described it, right? When you're on a computer, when you're looking for things, it's kind of a lean forward moment. You're saying, oh, I need something here. Let me go look for it. And when you're reading a magazine, it's kind of a lean back moment. You're relaxing, you're looking at things, and and maybe you weren't ever looking for it, but you saw something on a car that was in the magazine. That thing's cool. I need to go look that up. So still important, still an important part of what we do in driving revenue. Just, maybe that has now, that balance is trying to find an equilibrium between digital and print advertising. And most print platforms have a digital platform as well. So it's not, I don't think anything's print only anymore. So
yeah, that's, between, look, the magazines and their demise, I guess, is a business. It's a business situation. I always enjoyed the face-to-face. That's why I was always such a big fan of events. And, looking at social media, look, there's different advantages on social media that are available to folks. I had a different experience when I got that big, thick, oversized edition with that hardcover from Roadkill and all that four color. I love that. I don't get that experience online, but ultimately I'm still able to get my parts. And that was really the reason why I read those magazines as well, to find out what was out there and where I could buy it. And I could still do that online. Who knows? Maybe magazines come back in a little bit of a different presentation in the future, especially those that we look at as icons like Hot Rod. Hey, Wade, look, I know you're a busy guy. There's a couple of things that I just wanted to touch on before we let you go. There's been a lot of folks in this industry that have made a name for themselves, and I see a lot of similarities out there with the successful ones. Talk a little bit about some of these folks, if you can. Barry Maguire.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Barry, what a great guy. I've been friends with Barry for a lot of years, and he's just a wonderful advocate of our industry, and just so selfless in how much he gives to our industry and making sure that it is successful. Just a really, really outstanding guy, super smart, marketing expert globally, understands our industry well. I mean, it was funny there for a couple of years. I was seeing Barry more at international events than I was at domestic events. So just a really great advocate for our industry and just a great car guy.
Did Barry's Car Crazy show give you a little bit of maybe did it ignite you at all?
It almost does. And I got to tell you, I admire him so much, his integrity and just who he is. And so if there's anyone that I said I would like to be like that on air, that's what I'd like to be. I'd like to be transparent, have a high level of integrity, not trying to sell anybody anything, but just trying to share some experiences. And I think that's what Barry was a master at, is sharing experiences that he is allowed to do because of what he did because of his position at Maguire's with everybody else, with all of us, including me.
Yeah, and Barry would be another one of those faces that when you see him at the SEMA show, you see his smile, we're going to know that we're kind of back, that's.
Oh yeah.
Wade, we talked a little bit about Corky briefly, and I hope this isn't awkward, but I wanted to offer our condolences to the Coker family in light of the tragic accident with Cam. How is Corky doing?
We our VP of Operations, David Levi, just talked to him the other day. He just said he has good days and he has bad days. And I can't even fathom what he's going through right now. You should never have to bury a child, and especially one that was young, that was recently married, that's got a 3-month-old baby. That is just got to be a horrific experience to go through. But praise God, Cameron did know the Lord. We're very certain that Cameron is in a much better place with no pain, no suffering, and that's good. But we're all going to miss him here.
Well, we would hope, and I sure speak on behalf of anybody and everybody that's ever known the Coker family. We offer our condolences and our best thoughts. I reached out to Corky, and I look forward to giving him a hug. Wade, what's next for you? We've got the business acquisitions. We've got the car guy adventures. You're on the road constantly, but I know you're always looking out for the next big thing. What's the next big thing for Wade Kawasaki?
I'll tell you, there's a lot of things. Joe, I'm into racing. I love doing track day events and doing some vintage car racing. So maybe if I get to a place where there's a great talented team here running this company, I could do a little more of that. I really would love to spend more time in a race car.
Hey, Wade, new folks getting into this industry, any words of encouragement for a young guy that's like, I'm not sure I want to do the 9 to 5. I'm not sure I want to join the military yet. What do you tell a young guy that loves everything about cars that may think about this industry for a career?
Yeah, you know what? Do what you're passionate about. Do what brings you energy. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Is when I get home from work, I'm more energized than I was when I left for work in the morning. And if you do that, then you really will never have to work a day in your life, right? If you're within your passion, you're within your zone, you work hard, you put in the time, you're being willing to pay your dues. If you're willing to do that in this industry, the success potential is unlimited here. So whether it's whether you're in marketing, whether you're in sales, or whether you're in accounting, like Steve Zickus here is, if you're passionate about what you do, if you love what you do every day, if you love collaborating with people, this is really the industry for you.
And what's available at what's available in your companies? Are there any opportunities available for folks?
We sure do. We're always looking for great people, and so please check Indeed, check SEMA.org for there, and you'll see all of our job listings. Really looking for great people to join this team and to help us take it to the next level.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you're looking to maybe get your start in the automotive aftermarket, here's a good place to start. We've been talking with Wade Kawasaki, industry legend, good friend. Wade, continued success on the Car Guy Adventures. You can find the Car Guy Adventures on Facebook and Instagram as well. I've been keeping an eye out and enjoying and looking forward to your posts. Look forward to checking out all the action. It's Meekum from Houston tomorrow, isn't it?
That's correct.
For this upcoming weekend, great.
So
you got your eyes on anything? Are you looking for something to buy?
I've always got my eyes on something. So you know that I'm a hopeless car guy. So we'll take a look at a bunch of cars, and we'll be on both Facebook and Instagram Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And if you tune in to NBCSN to watch the Meekum either live or tape delayed, I do a segment on their NBC broadcast as well. So look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, that as well. Keep an eye out for a Duster for me, and don't forget about the two-wheel mini bikes, the CT70s and the Z50s. All those bikes are going up in prices pretty quickly over there. So send us some fodder on that too, won't you, Wade?
I will. I'll send you some CT70 fodder.
All right, folks. It's been Wade Kawasaki. Check him out, the Car Guy Adventures on Facebook and Instagram, and check him out in person at the SEMA show. Wade, what are the dates for the SEMA show this year?
You know what? I don't
usually the first Tuesday through Friday in November.
It'll be the first week of November, but I don't have the dates right in front of me.
We'll post them. We're looking forward to having you guys out there. We're looking forward to seeing what else you've got going. And hey, I look forward to seeing you on the SEMA cruise. Maybe we could do a little cameo from the SEMA cruise with the Car Guy Adventures. How about that?
Yeah, we need it. We definitely need to do that. So we'll do a Facebook Live on Car Guy Adventures with Joe Sebregondo on the SEMA cruise. And for those of you that don't know how great a job Joe does on that SEMA cruise, and Joe, I'm not saying this just because I'm on your podcast, because I've told you this like every year, that is absolute magic. Him and Kevin Osteen just do a great job announcing the SEMA cruise. Everyone has a great time. Don't miss it. Do not miss Joe Sebregondo, Kevin Osteen at the SEMA cruise.
Thank you, Wade. That's a labor of love. I always just hope every year they ask me to do it back. And now in this cancel culture society, I know I take a few risks every once in a while. So I may have to tame my game down a little bit, but I thoroughly enjoy it. I pinch myself in addition to having the privilege of hosting the SEMA Hall of Fame. And it was a highlight of my career to be able to induct you. Who was that, 2015, Wade?
I think it was 14.
So it's been a while. So another little advantage of being in this great industry, and one that you've definitely had a hand in making it even better. Thanks so much for what you do, Wade. Look forward to catching up with you this summer, and continued success.
All righty. Thanks, Joe. To you as well.
Appreciate it. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening in. This has been the latest episode of the Aftermarket Insider, presented by Pioneer Car Electronics. Remember, don't break up with your car. Upgrade it with Pioneer Car Electronics. You can visit them at pioneercarelectronics.com. We will be uploading this interview with Wade wherever you get your podcast fix within the next day or two. You can also check it out at the Aftermarket Insider Facebook page, as well as the website. Looking forward to having on some interesting guests next. I'm doing my best to try to lock in Chuck Blum. Chuck Blum is a legendary SEMA icon, and he ran the Roost back in the day, and it's going to be interesting to hear his take on how things worked back then and how they're going to be working going forward. It's been a good one. Make it even a better one this week, folks. Take care of yourselves. Have a good time. Be safe. And thanks for listening to the Aftermarket Insider with Wade Kawasaki. See you next time, everybody.